Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast of media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, Mathmachine, the Shark, Stryker, and our special guest today is Stormflame. Today is our 172nd episode, and we're discussing the 2018 Overlord episode, Departure, to continue our second ever Isekai Month. So, let's get things started.
I'm Dunko. You are bad guy. But this does not mean you're bad guy?
Pathetic mortals, prostrate yourselves in reverence, for you have been gifted a visit by the great lord of the tomb of Nazarick himself, Angron.
Yes, amazing.
Overlord began as a novel written in 2010, a light novel in 2012, and got an anime adaptation in 2015. The anime is about an MMORPG shutting down, but one of the players, Aziz, got sent into the world of the game and is trying to find others like him. Now, what's interesting is the episode we are talking about today is actually from the second season of the show, which I believe is actually the first time something like that has happened for Isekai Month, so pretty interesting right there.
I just want to clarify, the series actually started as a web novel before it went to a light novel, but the two are pretty different.
The episode begins with a giant wraith telling a village of lizardmen that death is upon them as the Great One has formed an army to destroy them, and that in 8 days their clan will be wiped out and offered as the second sacrifice. One lizardman notes that the wraith said, "Second sacrifice," as the wraith continues that death comes in 8 days, and for them to resist, because it will make things all the more enjoyable for it. The wraith then disappears as we then cut to the next scene, and the title card appears during this sequence at the bottom of it, as this episode does not have the standard intro for the show, but we'll talk more about it in a little bit.
Also, yeah, those lizard folk are lucky that said Great wasn't made of water.
True, because then things would be really doomed for them, whether it's by that guy or it's by Louis.
Yep.
Another one of the lizard people, who is a female, notes how they all say that it was 4th tier magic. Another lizard is amazed at this, as she says how she can only manage 2nd tier magic and they should evacuate. The first lizard man is shocked at this, as another one says how the enemy said they have 8 days and can wait until then. I will say this giant evil entity, at least it has good manners. It's waiting 8 days to kill them, whereas Samara from the Ring kills you in 7 days. So it's giving them an extra day's leeway, so that's nice of it. One of the lizard men, Zaryosu, says that he would prefer to stay and fight, as another lizard man berates him, calling him nothing but a traveler. The lizard chief silences him by slamming his tail on the ground, which I love that. I love when shows like this do that sort of world building, showing how they use their anatomy for things as simple as that. That is so cool. The other lizard man argues about this, saying how the chief is only giving Zaryusu favor because he's his brother. The female lizard says that failing to heed the words of the educated is foolish, as Zaryusu adds that he holds frost pain. And I know what his suggestion is going to be against the wraith. We should take the village and push it somewhere else.
Yeah, which to be fair, that would totally be a lizard brain move doing that, since this is an entire village of lizards. Lizard.
The others ask if they should stay and fight, as the lizard woman asks if they will win. Zaryusu says that no, not in their current state. They have to make an alliance with the other lizard tribes. He asks the others if they remember the recent war, then says that their tribe, the Green Claws, competed with the other tribes, Small Fang, Razor Tail, Dragon Tusk, Yellow Speckle, Dark Edge, and Red Eye for resources. Green Claw made an alliance with Small Fang and Razor Tail against the other tribes, and Yellow Speckle and Sharp Edge were absorbed into Dragon Tusk, which was neutral. So basically, this is Lord of the Rings if it started the lizard people from V, which I'm all for. Oh,
Yes.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Also, seeing the way they divide their tribes and how they name it, seems to be like an alternative version of Raja and the Last Dragon World.
If only Sisu was here, because that noodle would definitely be needed. He continues to explain that the wraith said this would be the second tribe to be destroyed, and that the evil entity will destroy all of the tribes one by one. One of the lizard men asks if they can form an alliance in only 8 days, as another one says they are sure that Small Fang and Razor Tail will work with them again.
They are explaining the whole war part. This was actually not Zarzizu. he's not explaining this to them because they all know it, because it's just that recent. But it was actually in the light novel, it was more like a inner dialogue, like he was thinking about it. So it was more like readers could read it and get the gist without him explaining it to his own people.
I understand. Go ahead, Angron.
It's done in a semi-stop motion looking CG, which compared to the CG that we got in the previous Arafudame is actually a step up. Said I enjoy the story of that one, but Overlord definitely has a lot of polish where that one doesn't.
Zaryusu then says that all of the tribes must unite with each other against this villain, and asks the chief to unite all of them. The lizard woman says that this is impossible, as due to the war, there can be no alliance between the tribes. As one of the lizards says that they have no alliance with Red Eye, the chief then approves of this, as Zaryusu says that he will go to the other tribes, as the chief says that he will give him the seal as passage. Obviously, this is good and all, but he should have also gotten the Bean Kingdom seal. Then he really would have had clout. Even though it's not in this episode, it is here where we are actually going to talk about the intro for the show. The intro is set to the song Go Cry Go, and it actually begins, surprisingly, with the lizardmen. I actually was kind of surprised how much it focuses on them compared to the other characters in the anime. As the lizardmen continue to march, it fades into the title card. As we cut back to the lizardmen, including Zaryusu marching, we then see another faction of characters on the battlefield, led by the villainous Coctus.
Yeah, like, honestly, if like, I guess this is like your first time watching this show, or around this arc or this interest where you just like happen to come across, you'd probably think that the whole show is about the lizard folk.
Yeah, I definitely would, because the main character of this anime does not appear in this episode at all, which that actually really surprised me.
Yeah, it's honestly surprising when a season pretty much tells you, yeah, I know we're doing this whole thing about a Overlord Lich. How about for this season we focus on an entire village of lizard folk and one of the Overlord's generals that he fights, who just so happens to be as nearly overpowered as for the Overlord himself. Really quite a surprise to the system.
The choice to start the season off with the lizardmen kind of divided a couple of fans of the Overlord community. Like, some liked it, but a lot of them really disliked it. I know one reaction channel, Renegade Reacts, when they did the Overlord series, they kind of almost quit it during the Lizardman arc. I find it pretty good.
Personally, I like this idea for the season because the hope of the second season is we are seeing the effects that Ainz just putzing around in this world has. And that's kind of the whole point. The first one was to bring him into this world and to show that he is in this world. The second one is, oh, he's actually doing shit and that's causing ripples. Well, that's bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do like that too, that it's actually more the world building that doesn't show the main character, but shows the effect he has in it. That is such a cool concept.
Oh yeah, Overlord will do that, both in the light novels and the animes episodes.
We then see other characters all marching towards the screen before our main character Aziz turns to the camera. Now, one thing I was not expecting was that, because this is my first time going to this anime as well, I did not expect Aziz to be a giant skeleton, and obviously he's there because he's trying to find his cousin Skeletor. I won't get you next time, He-Man. We then see a group of characters all fall out of the sky before two characters begin battling each other. We then see one of the lizardmen battling with Cocytus before more combat from other characters occurs. We then get shots of various female characters, including our dragoness of the episode, in a field. After various shots of the other characters, we then end with the title card yet again. And just to reiterate, this sequence does not occur in this episode at all, which is pretty interesting. Getting back to the episode, we see Zaryusu meeting with his brother and throwing fish to Rororo, who actually is a Hydra that is his companion. His brother wonders if Zaryusu should have become chief instead of him, as Zaryusu says that if he never traveled, he never would have been able to catch fish for the village.
Right off the bat, we basically have a season that's pretty much already based for covering an entire village of lizard folk. But we also have a guy here who has a legit Hydra as a rideable mount. Already you're in for some good shit, but it only gets better from here.
Zayusu's brother says that he should be the one in charge, as he asks if Zayusu is doing this just for alliances, noting how similar this all is to the last time. Zayusu tells him not to continue, as his brother asks what will happen if the other tribes do not agree to war. Zayusu says that they will attack the other tribes, as his brother is surprised that he would kill his fellow kin. And she continues by saying how he understands, but then wonders if the, quote, man in charge doesn't consider that possibility. Zayusu doesn't answer, instead calling out the Hydra and petting it. He asks his brother about the overview of the village residents, and, once he gets it, asks if it'll be a good bargaining trip. It turns out that Rororo is truly gigantic, as his brother is shocked at the lizard's size, with Zayuyu noting that he was a lot smaller when they first encountered him. Zayusu's brother says that when Rororo first came to the village, he still thought it was too big to handle, and tells him to get back safety. Zayusu says that, I will carry this plan out to perfection and then return home. We know where he's going. He's going to Perfection, Nevada, and now he's going to fight off all the graboids.
Nice.
As he rides off, we then cut to a temple where Lord Demiurge, an archdevil, is greeted by a butler penguin. And wow, I did not expect Skipper to change professions. He went from a spy to a butler. But hey, you never know about some people.
This honestly reminded me a bit more of Lovelace. Still, career change from leader of an entire nation to the butler of a literal demon. But hey, anything's possible, you know?
The penguin butler Enclair, yes, that is his name. He is technically the assistant butler, but the head butler is off in business somewhere else. I want to quickly mention this entire scene was never in the original light novel. This scene was actually a part of the second light novel, hence why there were some continuity issues there, but okay.
He asks if Lord Ainz is in there, as the penguin continues that he is currently in the human village, but Lady Albedo is inside. The archdemon notes how unfortunate this is, as he then asks the penguin if he feels strange to be without his master. The penguin says that his lord is away at business, so he must work extra hard and was at work with Lady Albedo. The archdevil says that things are more than safe in his flippers, as the penguin says that he's doing this in preparation for when he's calling the shots. The archdevil asks how he will achieve this goal, as the penguin triumphantly says, by cleaning, of course, and that no one is as clean as him. And honestly, that's not a bad idea, because look at Twilight Sparkle. I mean, look, first she started with sweep, 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 and then she became princess of all of Equestria.
Sweep, sweep, sweep.
Also, so we have this penguin in this castle. Another thing he could do is calling for a monster to cover that demon.
If only we had Escargot here.
Mr. Clean would appreciate this penguin as his assistant.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely would. The penguin continues to say that both the floor and the toilet are so clean you could eat off it. And now that he's done cleaning the bathroom, the archdemon is amazed at this. We then cut back to Zayusu riding on Rororo as he arrives at the Red Eye village. He asks to speak to its leader, as an elderly lizard man says that he may do so. As he is taken to the one who runs the village, Zayusu is shocked that it is not the village chief and is brought before a tent. After saying that he brings a request for the tribe, a female voice tells him to come in. As he enters, he is shocked to see Crusch Lulu, who is the leader of the tribe and is stunned by her beauty, to the extent where, upon seeing her, he lets out such a hilarious squeak. Obviously, he learned about hitting on her from when Mr. Krabs tried hitting on Mrs. Puff.
I want to mention that squeak was confirmed to be a lizardman mating call. So when he saw Crush, he literally asked her out.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I'm going to quote an oldie but goodie here. It should have been me, not him.
Good thing he didn't immediately just stick out his weird neck frill to try and woo her, which, to be honest, I would not put that past the lizardmen having, but thank goodness they don't. So, yeah, keep that tucked in there.
Crusch Lulu is an albino lizard woman with red eyes and all sorts of markings along all of her scales. Her design is really a unique one, and not just because of the albinoism. It's also because of she's drawn in such a legitimately sultry way. It is absolutely amazing that they got away with this. They really did a great job with her.
The markings on her body do actually mean something. There's 3 different meanings I managed to find. 1, it means she is a full-grown adult. 2, it tells what type of magic she can cast. And 3, this is the most important one, no, it tells everyone that she is in fact single.
That's good to know. Won't be that way for long, though. Also, yeah, I think this might be the first instance of having a scaly on the list that's legit albino. I mean, we've had several other unique kinds of dragons and scalers and whatnot on this list before. None with a disability to the degree of this sort of thing. Yeah, props for this show for doing, but also I just gotta ask, Red Eyes albino lizard for Yu-Gi-Oh! When?
I would like to add that it's not us being the lizard fans that are reading into this, oh, that she's attractive and all this. They present her as such in the anime. She's sitting in the waifu pose when you meet her. The design is such that obviously she has the typical waifu style. The voice actress, I think, realized this as well because she has a very high-pitched, sultry voice, not a regular speaking voice.
Yeah, you could definitely tell because, as you said, the voice actress really was having a lot of fun with this character.
Yeah.
He is so struck by her beauty that he falls on her knees as she is surprised at this, only for him to try to get a hold of himself. Crusch Lulu explains that she is the acting chief of the Red-Eye tribe and asks what she could do for him. He instantly asks if he could marry her, as she is shocked by this, before we cut to an exterior shot of the tent and she screams, "Hey, can't blame a guy for trying, right?" Go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah. And to be fair, he probably lasted way more than all of us would have.
I'm going to speak in modern lingo for the youths. The amount of riz on this lizard man cannot be overstated.
We cut to her bemused by this as her tail wags back and forth, and Zaryusu does the same. He explains that this was not the reason that he came here, but he could not ignore such feelings of love. As she blushes at this, her eyes begin to spin before Zaryusu apologizes, saying that he should do it when they get to know each other better. She slams her tail down to get a hold of her emotions, then notes how he's not afraid of her white body like others are. She says that as she was born as an albino, they are predestined with a talent, and her talent is leadership. Zaryusu then calls her as white as the snow around the mountains, and calls her beautiful, and he should have followed up with this little number. It's a vast, swirling wonderland of sparkling white pleasure. Let it fill your senses with cascading, fluffy pillows of excitement and comfort as you've never felt before.
Yeah. Just be thankful he didn't take love language lessons from Shining Armor and his friends. If you all know, you know.
So, are we sure this lizard guy wasn't a Johnny Bravo in life and then he got isekai'd into this world and turned into a lizard person?
That would be awesome.
Yeah. I also love the gag that the background is playing romantic music. That is something so simple, and yet the way they do it means so much. Crusch is shocked at this, as he then reaches out to touch her before she bites him, yelling at him for doing that without asking. He says how he fell in love with her, and how they could potentially get killed in the upcoming battle. Oh, go ahead, Math.
Considering the music that they use and what's going on in this scene, I'm actually genuinely surprised that Careless Whisper wasn't playing.
That would have been way better. He continues by saying how he does not want any regrets, as Crusch is surprised that he is prepared to die. Zaryusu points out that the monster that came to their village could not be stopped by any sort of non-enchanted weapons, and how terrifying it is. He says that they had no choice but to flee from it, as Crusch Lulu says that they are the druid class, and they can imbue swords with magic. He then asks if they could help with mental attacks, as she says that she is the only one who could do that, as Zaryusu is even more amazed at her for that. He then asks what number her tribe was, as she says that they are fourth in line to be destroyed, with him then asking what Red-Eye plans to do about it. He says that if they evacuate, that things will go wrong and that the tribes may be forced to fight for resources, as Crusch Lulu asks that if fighting a battle that they might not be able to win might be the only way to continue.
Why the lizardmen can't just run away and live another day? It's because the lake they live on is actually inhabited by other beasts like toadmen, and if they leave, they could be invading the other natives' territory and be attacked by them.
Shame that the Toadmen aren't Toads from Mario, because then we could have had the Toad Warrior come in and save them.
Yeah, pretty much what Storm is saying is we got ourselves a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Not great for either side, that's for sure.
He asks her for an alliance between their tribes, and if they do not approve, Green Claw will be forced to attack Red Eye, and if they ally together instead, they will be working as one. He then notes how they were neutral in the last war, and wonders how Red Eye managed to survive. Crusch says she doesn't want to talk about it, as Aryusu demands to know about it because it may be their salvation. And this is a moment that really shocked me just for how dark they got with this.
You're going to hear it in a second, but as a reminder, this is a dark fantasy isekai for a reason.
Indeed.
Crusch remarks that they were forced to commit cannibalism as they were so desperate in order to survive, with the meat coming from those of the previous chief banished. Crusch led a rebellion against the chief, as there was a civil war between them and Crusch's side, who eventually won due to greater numbers. She notes that when she defeated the chief, he was on the verge of death, and he smiled sweetly at her, as she said that the tribe managed to unite once more. She then tearfully says that perhaps the rebellion was wrong, as the chief did manage to lead them through a dire circumstance, and that she's ashamed for overthrowing him, beginning to cry. And this really just floored me, not just because of the cannibalism, although partially because of that, but also partially because she is such a well-written character. For someone who we have only seen for less than 3 minutes, you know so much about her character already. The writing on this show is absolutely fantastic. Last week's show could have taken a lot of notes from this, that's what I'm saying.
Well, Arifureta ultimately has more edge and more seriousness compared to Overlord, and especially in the more laid back and less serious moments in Overlord, it's definitely understandable why. Then you see moments like this and a bunch of others, and then you remember, oh yeah, this is a dark isekai. Like, not everything is going to be all hunky-dory with this series. And this right here probably mirrors nature as well. So props for that. Still quite a shock to the system for those who aren't exactly prepared for that sort of thing. Anyway, Storm.
Zarzuzu was previously established to actually running a fish farm, and he does actually mention this in the light novel when he's meeting Crusch, and they do have a bit of a discussion because priests like her view fish are sacred things of nature and you can't mass produce them like farming.
Huh. Interesting. All right, go ahead, Meth.
This is what I really like about Overlord, and this shows the strength of the light novel writer, is that effectively in this 5-episode mini arc for season 2, he did a full hero's journey with these lizard people, and he created fully fleshed out, established characters for effectively a throwaway purpose. And that takes a lot of not only writing strength to do, but a lot of like really well thought out and future planning, because why would you just do this for something that you're not going to touch again unless you are trying to show that this is a living, breathing world and you need to establish that everyone is going through their own things.
That is very true. I can definitely see why this show is so popular because of that.
I think that was because the writer of Overlord for the light novels was in fact a DM, a dungeon master.
Makes too much sense, honestly.
Yeah. This is why Overlord has a lot of Dungeons and Dragons references.
Huh.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So Yusu says that no one can see the futures, and he may have done the same thing if he was in her shoes, and how we all live with regrets. He then says that they must look forward to the future and keep moving forward. She, quote, apologizes for my disgrace, as he notes that he does not judge others and how her soul is beautiful. She then blushes at this, and her tail thumps on the ground even faster, so apparently she likes what she hears there.
It's honestly just so adorable. Like, the whole time they're talking, they're like, you cur, how dare you? But the whole time her tail just like dunk, 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 dunk. One time, one of our dogs was like lying on the ground. One of our cats at the time was playing around the same area. My parents noticed the cat was playing with the dog's tail, and they were just laughing. I was like, dunk, 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 dunk. The whole time the cat was holding on to the tail. It was like, and like the tail just kept going faster the more they laughed. I wish I could have been there to see it, but we have word of mouth to go off of that.
Yeah, and I'm laughing already.
Zaryusu then asks her what Red Eye's policy will be, and she says that they will evacuate, as he then asks if she still feels the same way after talking to him. He brings up the old Red Eye leader smiling upon her when he died, noting how he was entrusting Red Eye's future to her. She asks how many of the Green Claw tribe will evacuate, as he gives the same number his brother gave to him. She asks what will happen if they all fail, as he admits that they will all die. She then looks towards the sky, as he says that they're not fighting just to survive, but also to win. This manages to actually win Crusch over, as she agrees to his terms, saying that Red Eye will align with Green Claw, as she says that the alliance between them will ensure that they have many survivors to carry on. The two bow to each other before we cut to the next day, as Zaryusu is waiting for her. She then arrives, wearing a bush as a disguise to hide herself, as she says how she's glad he talked to the rest of her tribe, before mentioning how both the warriors and the evacuees are planned.
I did not know that Crusch Lulu was Australian. Why, little Missy looks natural out in the bush, I might.
Nice.
Well, let's hope she meets up with Joanna. She then asks what he's planning to do, as Zaryusu says that he will go off to the next tribe and try to convince them, and asks her why she's wearing a bush. She asks if he likes it, as in a good gag, he says, "Would you like me to say I dislike it?" As she explains that's how she protects her skin from the harsh sunlight, because obviously she's an albino and she's more susceptible to the sun than others, which is a really neat touch. They didn't have to do that, but it's cool that they did. Oh, go ahead, Math.
We've also learned from hiding her in this bush that she just looks adorable wearing literally anything. The way that they draw her for when she's in the bush is her body's basically all covered. You just see little red dots for the eyes, and she looks so precious.
Yeah, just imagine her as a cosplay for Professor Tangrowth. That would be so adorable.
That bush disguise is gonna be helpful when she tries to sneak into Doodle Lulu's house.
I remember seeing this part in the anime, and I'm just all like, aw, she looks cute in a shrub. And then I'm like, wait, she's albino. It's like, I completely had to think back to this.
He then asks if she will go with him, as she says that she thinks it's best if she joins him, because Dragon Tusk has the best arms in the tribes. He notes that it's going to be dangerous, as she says, is there anywhere around that isn't? As he agrees and they sit off, which I really love how they write her character. It's just so well written that, honestly, I think she might be the best well-written character of Isekai Month so far, and we'll see how the other episodes go, but right now, I really like what they're doing with her. We then cut to Cocytus's lair, as one of his henchwomen, who is a cockroach woman, says that they have delivered the teleportation and message scrolls, and that Lord Ainz says that they got it from the archdemon. The henchwoman then explains that they should contact him if they have any questions, as Coctus notes how Lord Demiurge has overshadowed them, as the henchwoman says that they can only monitor the situation from this point forward, as the bug woman quivers at this. We then cut to Zaryusu and Crusch arriving in Dragon Tusk, as the pair announce their presence. The leader of Dragon Tusk arrives, joking that, "I didn't know Red Eye was led by a plant monster," as Crusch, in a really cute moment, sticks out her head to berate him, as the leader says that he was only kidding. And seeing all these lizardmen and the different tribes they run, it makes me wonder just one thing. Where does K. Rool and the Kremlings fit in all of this?
They're the pirate gang.
True.
The other side of the lake, because they don't want to be associated with them.
This lizard says that he is the chief of the Dragon Tusk tribe, and says how their tribe entrusts only the ones who are strong, and asks for Zaryusu to engage in combat with him. The episode ends with a shot of Zaryusu and Crusch looking bemused at this, as the chief smirks, which this ending for me seems really anticlimactic. Don't get me wrong, it's obviously to lead into the next episode with the big fight between the two of them. I get it. This just feels rushed in a way that the rest of the episode didn't. Like, maybe if we had just 2 minutes more with this guy so we could learn a little bit more of Dragon Tusk and their culture, and then have the chief challenge Zaryusu, that would have been a little bit better. But, I don't know, maybe it's just my personal preference. I would have liked them to do it a tiny bit more in depth than literally just have the chief jump out and be like, "You're a strong boy. Fight me IRL."
Hit me. I dare you. Firstly. Secondly, but you can't really deny that you wanting to know more wasn't this episode's ending's intent, right?
The chief of Dragon Tusk, we will learn his name during this episode. We do know a little bit about him in the other episodes, but one thing I do want to mention, he does have a mark on his chest like Zarzuzu, and despite how the symbols are different, they do mean the same thing, as in the both of them are travelers, and that comes later in the season. I mean, later in the anime with a dwarf arc, which has ice dragons in it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. We then get the ending of the show, which begins with a shot of a character sitting, before we cut to a still shot of Crusch sitting down. We then get another shot of a character, which goes from looking pleasant and calm before it glitches out to reveal a much more frightening landscape. I'm always a sucker for when shows do that kind of thing. Shows, movies, whatever. When it looks innocent, but then it suddenly glitches out and becomes scary. That's always cool when anything does that.
I remember what character you're talking about, and yeah, she is a crazy B-word.
Yeah, without spoiling anything, there is a reason that the art for that particular character glitches out in this ending.
We then get various shots of other characters before the ending ends in a portrait of one of them slowly fading to white. The episode ends with a brief preview of next week's episode, Lizardmen Gathering, to which I have to say, isn't that just our podcast?
Yeah.
Nice.
That is pretty much it for the discussion on Overlord, at least this episode of Overlord. Overlord would last for 2 more seasons, with its most recent episode being released in 2022. As someone who literally has never seen anything of this show before this podcast, I really enjoy this the way it is. I'm not sure if I like it more than I've been killing slimes for 300 years, etc., etc. I liked it the way it is, and I wouldn't mind covering it again in the future because it's a lot of fun. It surprised me with how deep it was. I know it was like a dark fantasy, but it wasn't like last week's where dark equals edgy. It was dark while not being overly grim dark, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. Like, when it comes to isekai out there and being, one of those dark kinds, while it's not as edgy as Arifureta, I still agree that this definitely has a lot more polish and is done a little more professionally compared to Arifureta. I do somewhat like this a little more than the latter, being what it is, especially since most of us jumped into this smack dab in the middle of the series. I personally think that Overlord has a little more to offer, though not too much in the way of other certain animes.
So the reason that they ended with 4 seasons so far is because they're actually waiting on the light novels, which are allegedly going to be finishing up here with just 2 more releases relatively soon. So as soon as the last light novel is out, I can guarantee the next year we are getting the final season of Overlord, and they are going to end with as big a bang as the light novels.
Nice.
Can't wait.
That sounds really, really great. I can't wait to see that.
There is a movie as well. It's kind of placed awkwardly because it takes place after the second arc of the 4th season, but before the final arc of the same season, because the light novels are pretty long in the Overlord series. And my personal opinion, this episode is kind of the weakest in the Lizardman arc. I love Crusch. This is probably not the best episode to start watching Overlord, in my opinion. Heck, there's no fight scene. This show is known for fight scenes, even if they're power fantasies with OP characters, but Overlord still makes it fun to watch.
Now it is time for the question of the week, which is, what is your favorite dark fantasy? I'm going to go first, and my choice is going to be something a little bit different, maybe a little unexpected, but it is a great example, at least I feel of it. My answer is that's going to be something that is live action, and that is going to be the Guillermo del Toro masterpiece, Pan's Labyrinth, or El Laberinto de Fauno in Spanish. This movie is absolutely phenomenal. It is just mind-blowing how good this is. How it takes the fantasy elements of the story, which really has some freaky stuff in it. The Pale Man still to this day gives you nightmares. And that, combined with the setting of it being set in the Spanish Civil War and the horrors that go on with it, is, especially if you've seen the movie, I have to say just one word, And that's all that needs to be said. Bottle. Yeah, but that movie is just such an amazing film overall. It's Del Toro is a great director overall. I don't think he's ever made a really bad movie, but that I feel is his masterpiece. It is a movie that is going to be extremely hard for him to top for multiple reasons, but it just mixes fantasy so well. A different kind of fantasy. It's not Lord of the Rings. It's not Harry Potter. It's not some magical adventure where all your dreams come true. It is a fantasy in probably one of the darkest ways possible. And I am all here for it because it is a masterpiece, not just of dark fantasy, not just of fantasy. I'd say it's a masterpiece of cinema as a whole. That's definitely going to be my answer. It's going to be Pan's Labyrinth. If you haven't seen that movie, go out and see it. But with that being said, it is a fantastic movie. And if you haven't seen it, go out and check it out. Let's see, Angron, what would your pick be for your favorite dark fantasy?
Yeah, not too many come to mind when it comes to dark fantasy. I think I am going to have to go with Yu-Gi-Oh! Mainly the first 3 generations, the Duel Monsters, GX, and 5Ds, because on the surface, it's kids' game, card games, collect it all, akin to Pokemon. However, throw in Magic the Gathering a little bit, and also some dark shit from the manga, as well as the Shadow games. And you pretty much get a dark fantasy that I personally think would 100%, a little more on the tamer side, but dare you check out the subdiversions, then you are in for quite a wild ride. So I'm gonna go for Yu-Gi-Oh!
That's a really good choice right there because, again, you can tell why it's just a franchise that has stuck around for so long because, yeah, it really does go a lot of places, especially the original language version because haven't seen that one. Definitely check out that one too. Let's see, Matt, what would your pick be?
I would like to give a special shout out to shows like last week's answer for me, Rising of the Shield Hero, which again is a series that I really love. And I could even say something like Ari Ferretta, which is another dark fantasy, but again, those two more lean towards edgy dark fantasy. My favorite actual proper full-on dark fantasy is the OG of dark fantasy, the granddaddy of all dark fantasies in anime, Berserk. Whenever you think of a dark fantasy with relation to anime and manga, this is probably the one you think of. Guts has become so iconic as a character. He is not just a anime guy with big sword, he is the anime guy with big sword. When the manga's creator unfortunately passed away, Final Fantasy XIV has a class that is effectively just Guts, and everyone showed up, big swords in tow, in a giant mile-long procession as a way of mourning his passing. This is such an influential series in so many things, in dark fantasy and outside of dark fantasy. Its importance cannot be overstated. Not to mention, it has given us one of, if not the greatest villain in all of anime, Griffith. And if you know what that bastard has done, oh, he bad.
Exactly. Also, this is the same series that inspired Dark Souls and Elden Ring, so we have this series to thank for giving us one of, if not the most iconic hard series in all of video game media.
They even modeled the great sword in Elden Ring after Guts' sword in honor of Berserk.
Yeah, for sure.
But let's see, Shark, what would your pick be for your favorite dark fantasy?
Well, think like this. It's the year 2000. You're reaching home with a new game, and as you're turning off the console, you remember how the previous game in the franchise started up. You remember how Ocarina of Time starts, the sun rising as Link is in Epona, in Hyrule Field galloping, and the welcoming a flute and a piano theme that was in the title theme. You remember that sequence, thinking that this next game is gonna be like that, only for the screen to start all dark. And you see something creepy slowly spinning towards the screen, only to until then be welcomed by a happy song in a happy town, and yeah, you think, oh, it's gonna be like the last game and all of that. You see John Link in the town, walking around, sitting around. That is until the very end, where you reach the tower of the town, and we look at the sky, and we see a certain individual with a certain mask looking at the moon. And said moon does not look too friendly. That's when you get the title of the game, The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask.
I immediately know what you were talking about, I swear.
So a lot of people tend to say like, oh, Twilight Princess is like the darkest and edgiest Zelda game, and it's like, I mean, I can see why. Like, it has the most realistic style, and when it comes to darkness, it might be literally the darkness, as many places you don't visit are like dark underground. There's not much lighting and all of that. But honestly, Majora's Mask might actually be like the darkest Zelda game in many senses. Like the whole central theme, the whole story is about grief. It's about both Link and Skull Kid have just faced loss in their lives, and they're both like coping in different ways. Like Skull Kid is just creating chaos. He wants to hurt everyone, like the same way he feels like he has been hurt. Meanwhile, Link is like, he has to face his own problems, but at the same time, he's like helping other people emotionally. Like the transformation masks are like the souls of species that have died, they pass on and they want to give you their last request so you can make them for them. And yeah, it's about, the main famous song is called Son of Healing. It's a game about healing wounds, healing emotions, having to like not forget the past, but it no longer can hurt you. You have to move on and all of that. And yeah, again, the central theme of the game is the mask. Every single mask has a small story. Either be like you helped a frog make a churro, like the Cafe and Anju, like the whole wedding quest is like a big quest that is completely optional, but it's one of the heaviest moments in the entire game. And yeah, honestly, playing that game is certainly gonna give you feelings you really weren't expecting from a Zelda game. And yeah, it's one of the most famous games in the franchise for a reason, and that's when it comes to dark fantasy, it is my favorite one.
That is a great choice right there, because the Zelda franchise as a whole has always been one that's known to be a lot darker than the other rest of Nintendo's franchises, with Metroid being an exception. But that is an excellent choice, and especially because that is one of the best video games of all time, and definitely one of the darkest too, especially again for Nintendo. Let's see, Stryker, what would your pick be?
I'm actually in the same boat as Math here. It's Berserk.
Nice.
Like, I don't have much of a different opinion about it than him, because it is one of the most beautiful series I've ever seen. And it's so sad to see the 2 anime adaptations did not do it justice. The only one you should watch is the 1997 series, by the way.
The newer one isn't too bad.
It isn't until you find out that the animation studio is well known for music videos. They have not made an anime until the 2016 Berserk anime. I was not impressed with the animation, let's just say that. Not to ramble on, but like, I honestly love Berserk, and I will be collecting the manga as soon as I absolutely can.
I could see why, because again, like Matt said, it's an iconic show for a reason. So let's see, that leads our guest, Stormflame. What would you say your favorite dark fantasy work is?
Well, here's the thing. I don't usually seek out dark fantasies. I usually keep the dark stuff in horror a lot. And we already covered Overlord with this episode, so I can't pick that. I'm gonna pick Warhammer Fantasy as my pick.
Oh, fuck yes. That's also an excellent choice. I'm a fan of Skaven.
Yeah. Well, I'm more of a Korn fan, but Cafe fan as well. But I liked Warhammer when I was a kid. Back in when I was like primary school, that's like one of the first schools you go to when you're in the UK. If any American listeners, I played Warhammer 40K, Dawn of War 2 when I was a kid. But I didn't know it was called Warhammer 40K. I just call it Dawn of War. But when I grew older and when the first Total War Warhammer game came out, I was hooked immediately. It took me a while to get it because it was an expensive game and I wanted to buy it pre-ordered. But when I learned more about Warhammer, like the lore and stuff, there is some overtly dark things in it. Some are like extremely weirdly edgy, like a vampire army that has units called Blood Knights, and of course Korn with the whole skulls and blood thing he has going for him. But there are actual scary dark stuff. Oh my god, I can't believe this was in this game that was made to sell plastic tabletop models. that you paint. Granted, I think 40k is much darker, but love fantasy more than 40k.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
I'm the same, Stormflame.
Yep, I definitely understand why, because again, it's one of those franchises that you can really tell why it's had such a long-lasting impact for a reason. Now it is time for the patent-bending Dragoness Scale, where we are going to rank Crusch Lulu. It's going to be very interesting what score she's going to get, and I can see her definitely being a high score. I'll go first, and for me, I mean, it's going to be really, really hard. I cannot say anything bad about her at this point. She's getting a perfect score. The design is absolutely fantastic. No flaws, 10 out of 10 right there. The way that she acts is great too, especially the voice actress. The surprising amount of character depth we get from her, from a character who really only appears roughly after the halfway point of the episode, is just so fantastic. She feels like a character who has been in the show for the past 5 seasons, and yet she only first appeared now, so that instantly makes her memorable. Her personality is great, and I like how, although they give her a lot of emotional depth, they still manage to keep her a relatively light-hearted character. I do like that a lot. Again, I cannot see any flaw with her at all. I don't know what to tell you. She is a perfect score for a reason, so 10 out of 10. Let's see, Angron, what would you give her?
Also gonna give her a perfect score, cause yeah, everything you pretty much said applies to her, and while we don't get too much more of her in this episode for the most part, in terms of her personality and just her overall character, I do appreciate what we got, because it's definitely a teaser for stuff to come, and as a person who's seen up to the current season, I absolutely think that they are wasting opportunities to use this character more, because I very much want to see more of her in later seasons. How they'll do that, not up to me, and probably the person writing the novel isn't probably going to do anything, sadly, but sure, they'll do something at some point, and when they do, I'll be there for it. But for now, I don't feel wrong in saying that Crusch Lulu gets a perfect score from me as well.
Yep, I can definitely see why, for all the reasons you say. Let's see, Math, what would you give her?
In the past decade or so, there's been a very rather sharp rise in fully anthropomorphic waifu characters in anime and games from Japan, rather than just nekos that we have been so used to since the 90s. Characters that you think of when you think of a fully anthropomorphic waifu character, and Crusch Lulu is not just a lizard waifu, she is the lizard waifu in anime. And there's a reason for that. She has become incredibly prolific everywhere and become just a fan favorite because she is designed incredibly well. Her voice actress did an amazing job. She looks adorable in any style, and she is a fully fleshed out character in this mini arc. All of them are, but she especially stands out as just a great character. So it can't be anything but a 10.
Let's see, Shark, what would you give her?
Well, this continues because, yeah, just like you, I cannot see any flaw on her. Her design is adorable, her personality is also adorable. Again, on her design, like Stormflame said earlier, her markers actually have meaning. Like, I thought it was like a, random symbols just to say, oh, she's from a tribe, but no, they apparently mean something. So that's an amazing touch, and yeah, I love her reactions. She can be funny, like when she screams and when she gets flustered. Her body language, like how she slaps her tail when, again, she gets flustered and all of that. I can't see anything wrong with her. Honestly, I'm gonna have to continue and also give her a 10.
Nice, nice. Let's see, Stryker.
Nice.
She's absolutely the reason why I wanted to watch Overlord, and yeah, she's perfect. She's a perfect score as well, 10 out of 10.
Nice, nice. And to finish off, Stormflame, what would you give her?
Right, okay. It's a perfect score from me because Crusch Lulu was literally the first scaly of any kind that got me into thinking, oh crud, do I have a thing for reptiles? I was coming to that age when this episode came out. Mind you, I was already a fan of Overlord. I was introduced to it because of a YouTuber who reacts to it called Rare Dash, who was, of course, a brony. He reacts to a lot of stuff. I was a fan of Overlord, and when this episode came out, oh my god, I'm in love with this white lizard. And I love everything about her. She's adorable. She has a fun comedic bits in future episodes. Like, there's a one line that's infamous with her. And trust me, it kind of raises the bar on the adult rate on this anime. But if you know, you know. But yeah, I love everything about her, especially her design.
Wow. So that means that not only is Crusch Lulu our next perfect score character, that means she currently is the winner of the characters who have been on Isekai Month.
Mhm.
Interesting.
And we'll have to see if she's ever dethroned either this month or in the future. But yeah, hard to believe that not hard to believe that she got such a good score because, I mean, we pretty much covered everything about it here. So that's going to be it for this week. If you have any questions, or if you want to tell us how you'd combine this franchise with Lord of the Rings, feel free to email us at fierydiscourse@outlook.com. Visit us at Twitter at twitter.com/fierydiscourse. Visit us at Blue Sky Fiery Discourse. Be sure to subscribe to the Fiery Discourse YouTube channel and subscribe to the playlist. Like and hit the bell icon. Leave a comment. Any all comments are appreciated. Next week, we're going to be talking about the 2025 Beginning of the End episode, Meeting the King, to continue our second ever Isekai Month. That's going to be a lot of fun and definitely be really interesting, especially after something like this. So that'll be it for this week. And until then, thank you all so much for listening and take care.
Hey, y'all.
Peace out.
Bye.
Adios. See you all next week.